Hi, Clam here. So today I'm gonna talk about my experience living in 3 different countries as of now. I grew up in Malaysia, and after that, for my university, I moved to China, at Beijing, China to be exact. And after that, I applied for an exchange program where now I'm currently living in the Netherlands. So I guess it's gonna be like very extremely different experiences living in Asia and then now transitioning to Europe. So first of all, as a person who grew up in Malaysia gives me this kind of like it's the most like slow paced. It's really just everyone's just vibing, just chilling, and like I spent my childhood and like I went to school and whatever in Malaysia for my entire lifetime. At that time, I didn't think about anything big, and I just focused on like, oh, what's the next step? Like, oh, now I finished primary school, I'm gonna start secondary school. What am I gonna eat tomorrow for lunch, for dinner, and where are we gonna go for the weekend? And like, it's just kind of this everyday mundane stuff that we're always thinking about. We don't necessarily think a lot about like, what future does my country hold for me? This kind of like very, very grand topics. At least most of the people I've encountered is just I'm just gonna find a stable job, a 9 to 5, and just like as long as I can get by, it will be fine. And I don't like really care much about where this country is going in the future. Of course, not all of them are like that, but the vibe is like, it's just we're all just chilling, Malaysia is a great place for retirement. So if you're not like seeking anything new or fast or fresh, or you just want to chill, like I highly recommend Malaysia. We're stuck in the middle income trap for a lot of years now. That's all I can say. But so I guess there's like both good and bad sides to it. But at least what I can recommend about Malaysia though is the food. The food is extremely, extremely good. Some people might not get used to the flavors we have here because it's like we eat a lot of spicy stuff like curry, like laksa, like tom yum, like a lot of those are spicy. But I like the spiciness of it because it's more like it's fragrant. We use a lot of like spices and stuff, and it has a very delicious taste to it. It's just so fulfilling, and we have a lot of diverse people, different races, so we have different food for every race. For example, we have Chinese food, we have Malay food and Indian food, and basically I can enjoy like several different types of cuisines in one day. And another very good thing about Malaysia is that there are a lot of like 24-hour food stalls and shops, so that if you get hungry at midnight, you can go grab a supper at the food stalls, at the Indian restaurants, at the even a burger. Even our roadside burger stalls are superb. The dirtier the place, the better the food. That is true. If you have hygienic concerns, I'm afraid Malaysia might not be the place where you can find the food you prefer, but if you do not, then I highly recommend it. And the weather, of course, in Malaysia is just we don't have 4 seasons, just hot all year round. It's just around 25 to 30 degrees every day, unless it rains sometimes. If it rains, then might get a bit lower, and we might have floods during the monsoon season. So yeah, that is also a concern. But other than that, it's kind of stable all year round, the weather, I would say. So you don't need to worry much about what clothes to wear, and basically you just bring an umbrella and just go out in t-shirt, shorts and flip-flops. It will be all fine all year round. People in Malaysia is mostly very friendly. Of course, it's not like in your face kind of friendly. I mean, I don't talk to my neighbors. It's not that kind of friendly, but maybe it's just because I'm introvert. But but like, for example, if you just travel there and like you don't know how to speak Malay, it's okay, because most of the people can speak English, and we were very, very happy to just show you around the places and show you around the food and etc. And I think there is actually a lot of hidden gems in Malaysia waiting for you to explore. Like, we have a lot of beaches, forests, mountains, a lot of those natural landscapes. But if you're more into culture, you can also go to like the historical sites. We have like ancient historical sites. I mean, that when Portugal and like the Dutch used to colonize us, and left behind a lot of those different buildings. And like, you can just go into the streets, and just take a look at how everyday life is in Malaysia. Like, you can go look at the Chinese communities. You can see how Chinese culture is very, very well preserved in Malaysia, especially during like Chinese New Year, and like we even celebrate all of those Chinese festivals. Or you want to see how different cultures mix together, you can go and check out the Baba Nyonya, which are like mix of Malay and Chinese cultures, because like it's just very fascinating, I would say. So me as a Malaysian, I have never even explored all of Malaysia, even though I've lived there for nearly 20 years. So yeah, I can't wait to go back and like find some time to actually travel around Malaysia and rediscover it, because I've come to appreciate Malaysia so much now that I'm out of Malaysia. Because actually Malaysia has a lot of problems, like politically speaking, and me as a Chinese is treated as kind of a minority in Malaysia. So growing up, I used to like despise living in Malaysia. I wanted to go out and see the world, and like there's not much opportunities for me in Malaysia, and I always felt like I have to go out, and like there's more things out there for me to discover, to see, to maybe other countries are better to live in. And I don't know, I just got sick of the everyday normal stuff. But now that I'm out here, I actually appreciate the familiarity. It all feels so familiar, and every day I'm just experiencing new stuff, and sometimes I'm just tired. I just want to go home and just chill in Malaysia, just chilling. And of course the food, I miss the food very, very much. It's like every country I have lived in, I am not used to the food at all. So that's it for Malaysia. Oh my god, that sounded like a recommendation for like an introduction for Malaysia instead of my experience, because I guess I introduced Malaysia to a lot of foreign friends too much, that when I talk about Malaysia, I just automatically try to recommend it and introduce it to other people. So yeah. And as for China, so I lived in Beijing, China, and honestly, before I went there, I was quite looking forward to it, because I love ancient Chinese culture, like the Forbidden Palace, like the different palace. There's too many palaces in China, and like the whole aesthetic, the vibe to those old alleyways in Beijing. We call that hutong. You can see how people live there, and like their everyday lives and how they go about it, and this kind of vintage feel to it that I really like. Before I went there, of course. So after I went there and lived there, of course I started to feel a bit like, so the vibes in Beijing is I didn't like it, to be honest. I did not like it. It just feels very stressed, and like everyone is working their best to achieve their goals in life, and it's just very, very competitive, especially because I'm studying at quite a prestigious university, and everyone is just you can feel the whole atmosphere. It's just very competitive and like fast paced, and you know, like no one's vibing. No one's vibing. Everyone's just like taking out stress, like some signs, for example, like the karaoke. The karaoke's there, the hot pot restaurant there, they all open until like midnight into the morning, so that young people can actually take a break and just go there and relax. Like they don't go at like normal times, you know, not at night, not at like 8 p.m, 9 p.m, because they still have to work until that time. That's how stressful it is. So they can only go after like maybe after work at like 10. I don't know. And even the school kids there, I heard from my Chinese friends, they have to study at school until 9 p.m, 10 p.m. That's ridiculous for me, where in Malaysia school ends at like 3 p.m. at most. So I just didn't like it, because I feel like everyone is striving to be the best and like competing with each other, and sometimes they just forget how to live. With my heavy workload in school and everything else, I just felt like I couldn't breathe there. But the good thing is there's a lot of friends that I made in my uni that kept me through all of this. Like we tried to find some happiness, some nice stuff in Beijing all around. Actually, some of the places are really nice, like the lake at my school. It's fantastic all year round, and you can see different sceneries in different seasons. Yeah, speaking of seasons, it was my first time experiencing different seasons, 4 seasons. As someone who grew up in a tropical country, I've always like imagined how it would be like to have different seasons. For example, spring, I would imagine, oh my god, flowers blooming and like the sun's shining and like the wind is like caressing your face and everything is fresh and new and comfortable. Oh no. The first spring I had in Beijing was disastrous, to say the least, because the temperature is actually colder than I imagined, and I still have to wear my puffer jacket in spring, and I got a cold because winter transitioning to spring, the temperature changes make me sick. Yeah, and the wind was crazy. It was so strong, and there was even like a sandstorm, several sandstorms that just like ruined the whole image of spring for me. And the winter here is extremely cold. It can get down to like negative 10 degrees. I have experienced negative 20 degrees in Beijing, and it was horrible. Like the cold was like, it was literally killing me, even though I was wearing a lot. I was already wearing a lot, but oh my god, I couldn't feel my fingers after like several hours outdoors. And the summer there is also very, very hot. It's extremely hot. It's burning, because like Beijing is dry, very dry, and in winter your palms will crack. You have to like constantly apply lotion to your palms. And in the summer, because Malaysia is humid, like if it's hot you will sweat, and in Beijing you won't sweat as much because it's dry, but the sun is like scorching. It's like piercing your skin. Yeah, that's the word, piercing your skin. It's a different level of hot, I could say. And I've experienced like 40 degrees in Beijing. It was insane. I like my head, I was getting a headache when I was outdoors, like literally. I think it's the sign of a heat stroke. And another thing I find very interesting in Beijing is that in the summer they cover a lot of their skin. Like in summer they're wearing long sleeves. That's I find that kind of ridiculous, because then again their beauty standard is like fair skin, so I guess it's understandable. But honestly, I don't get it. Like, don't you feel hot to wear so many layers? They literally wear hats, sunglasses and like long sleeve jackets, like those jackets that seem to like protect them from the UV rays and stuff, and like masks and trousers and like sneakers. It's ridiculous. I just roam around with my shorts and flip-flops every day. Yeah. And the food there. Okay, so actually the Chinese people have a nickname for Beijing, which is called 美食荒漠. It literally means like food desert. Like there's no good food in Beijing, like that originates from Beijing. All the good food I've had is either from other provinces or from other countries, like the Japanese food, the Korean food, like the Cantonese food, the Sichuan food or Yunnan food, whatever. It's just all from other places, and it's not. And the Beijing food, I can only say the Peking duck is good, but you can't have that every day because it's freaking expensive. And yeah, the living cost in Beijing is also quite high, to be honest. Like especially my hostel fees, and if you eat outside, it's quite expensive. It is quite expensive. If you want good food, there are no roadside stalls in Beijing at all. You cannot find them, and like restaurants all close at around 8-9, except for Haidilao, except for that one hot pot restaurant where everyone loves to go because it's so cheap and it has discounts for university students. That's why me and my friends go there for supper all the time. But other than that, there are no roadside stalls anywhere. It's honestly ridiculous coming from Malaysia, because in Malaysia we have all the stalls all like 24 hours, 24/7. But here, when I'm hungry, I can either just go eat the hot pot or like order food delivery. But then again, I think food delivery, sometimes I don't think they operate until like very late. I think it's 10 p.m. most of the time, most of the restaurants. But I guess the delivery and just online shopping in general is just really, really convenient in China, and how their digital payment system is also very convenient. It's all very convenient, and so living wise, I would say it is quite good. And like the public transport is also quite convenient, unlike Malaysia, which the public transport is absolute trash. It's like I can't get anywhere except by car in Malaysia. But in China, I can walk. I can take the subway, and even the bikes. Like I can just scan a code on the bike and ride it until where I want to go, and just park it at the bike parking lots that are everywhere. So I don't even have to buy a bike. And the people in China, they're more reserved, I would say. They're more reserved. But again, especially the older people, I would say they're not quite polite. A lot of the times, I walk on the street and I would just hear people like spitting on the street. And like, they're very noisy in public, sometimes, especially like the kids. And I've even heard stories of people like letting their kids just poo or pee in public. I mean, I've seen, like, it's honestly kind of ridiculous. But of course, there are also like very nice people that will offer help, and like the security in China is really good, I would say. Like, it is really safe. You can roam around the streets in like 2 a.m. in the night, and like you wouldn't get caught or harassed or anything most of the time. So for that, I would say kudos to China. And also, there's a lot of things to discover about China other than Beijing, I would say. To be honest, like the Forbidden Palace and stuff, it's just once in a lifetime. You can just go once and you're done. I think it is quite underwhelming for me, because I don't know, it just feels like sort of artificial to me, because I don't know, because if it's like maintained in a way that doesn't feel ancient to me, like the walls are all like bright red. The roofs, like, you know, those Chinese architecture rooftops, they're all like shining in like fresh new paint, and I just feel like they're making it too touristy for me. But other places I've been in China is very fascinating, like Suzhou, Nanjing, and the farthest place I've been is like in the northwest in Dunhuang. It's a desert, and I got to see like Mogao, which is like very, very ancient caves with a lot of Buddha statues and Buddhist art. It's just very, very fascinating. The history there is really, really rich. They also have amazing landscapes. The desert was like so beautiful. That was my first time going to a desert. And as for Suzhou, Nanjing, it's just it just has a different vibe. It's just like, especially Suzhou. I love Suzhou so much. It's just it's like an ancient Chinese town. It's by the river, like the shops and the houses are by the river, and you can hear the boatmen singing in ancient Chinese songs. It just feels very homey to me, and the food there is better, way better. Yeah, so that is China. I hope to explore more places in China, like the Xinjiang, like Tibet, like Inner Mongolia. Yeah, those kind of places are gonna be like so different, and I can't wait to explore those places. And now, moving on to the Netherlands. This is my first time out of Asia. Like, all the places I've traveled to are in Asia, and I came here alone with nobody, so it was, wow, that was a very interesting experience. I can share it in the future. So I took a flight from Beijing to Hong Kong, and Hong Kong to Amsterdam. And the first thing I realized when I arrived in Amsterdam is how different it is. Like, firstly, I couldn't understand what the people around me were talking about. That is very different, because in Malaysia and China, Chinese is my native language. Dutch is not. I don't understand it at all. So, of course, I feel a bit overwhelmed and like scared. And the next thing that hit me was the prices. because in China, their currency is like it's similar to Malaysia, but in Europe, of course, everything is so expensive. I just convert all the prices to Malaysian currency, and I will be like, oh my god, I am so broke. I didn't dare to spend money here. And when I look around, all of the people, they look so different from me. Like, I'm used to just seeing so many Asian faces all around me, and suddenly it's all white and black and brown. And when I look in the crowd and I find an Asian, I would be so overjoyed. I was like, oh my god, an Asian like me. So it is very different for the first time in a Western country, in Europe. And honestly, it's not what I imagined it to be, because since young I've always developed this kind of, you could say, image of Europe, of Western countries in general. That's like, oh, it's so modern, it's a developed country. But when you come here, you realize that it's very, very different. Like, for example, in China, I can order everything online and it's very convenient and very cheap. But here, I've never ordered anything online before. I wanted to do some online shopping, but I heard Amazon, it doesn't work that well here, and I reckon the delivery fees must be really expensive, so I always do my shopping offline. And maybe because I live in a small town in the Netherlands, so I feel like there's not much here, and like this image of how developed European countries are is just shuddering in my head. Like, now I've been to some places in Europe, like I went to The Hague and I went to Brussels in Belgium, and walking around, I just feel like, wow, it's not what I imagined a developed country would look like, I would say. And and I'm always constantly afraid of my things getting stolen. Yeah, so security-wise, it's not great in Europe either. But the vibes Europe gives me, I've not been to other countries yet, but the vibes the people here give me is also very different. The people here is also very different. They love to party. They love to party a lot. Like every single day I could hear, or I could like, I know of that there's this party or that party, and like, oh my god, Western people just love partying. But I don't. So that's why I didn't get the chance to socialize a lot here, and I mostly just keep to myself and stay in my room because, yeah, I don't like partying, I don't like drinking, I don't like all of this stuff. And I can see that they take work-life balance very, 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 very seriously here, because all the shops close at 5 to 6 p.m, at most 8 p.m. It's very inconvenient, living-wise, but I can understand, like, yeah, the whole work-life balance thing, which is very important, I would say. And I feel like the way Europeans go about life is also very different. I don't know, I just feel like everyone has a sort of purpose. Everyone has found their purpose. And because in Malaysia, as I said, like, we don't think much about our purpose in life, our future. And in China, everyone is just working so hard to the bone, and they don't know what they're doing with their life. They just work. But in Europe, I feel like everyone has a sort of inkling of an idea of what they would like to do, and they just do the things they want to do, and make it work for themselves, and just like, and not forgetting work-life balance. That's the thing I'm striving to be, because like I still cannot find my purpose yet. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my future. So hopefully my experience here will help me learn that. And just take, like, going to class, for example, is also very different. A Western education setting and an Asian education setting. It's in Malaysia and in China, the teacher would just ask, does everyone understand this? And nobody responds this. Literally nobody will respond, or we'll just nod our heads. And like, we will be so afraid if the teacher just asks a question and asks someone to answer it. Everyone will be like praying, oh my god, please don't ask me. But in here though, it's very different. It's basically the students will raise their hands themselves and interrupt the lecturer when he or she suddenly has a question to ask. And I find that very, very different from what I was used to. Speaking up in class and speaking their mind. Yeah, I think it's very, very different. And I still haven't learned to do that, but I hope maybe somehow I will. Yeah. And I hope to explore more of Europe, of course, in the coming months. I hope to explore everything good or everything bad in different countries, and compare different experiences and learn more about different cultures. That's what I always love. Like, as I said, when I was young, I was yearning to go out of Malaysia and see the world. And now that I've seen the world, not only I came to appreciate the good that Malaysia has instead of the bad that I thought that I only saw when I was growing up, I also start to like see my imagination shattering in the countries that I've actually been to and lived in for a while. So I would say, like, you don't hold too many hopes or like dreams or fantasies about a country before you've actually been there and experienced everything. Because like I only saw the good side of it portrayed in like social media, but when you've actually been there, you can see some of the bad stuff, some of the not so good stuff that doesn't get portrayed in media. But you can also see a lot of the good stuff, the hidden gems as well, and that's what I really like. And so now I've grown to have this sort of mentality that no matter where I go next, I would always I would not get my hopes up too high, but I would also I would try to discover all the hidden gems and all the good stuff as well. Okay, so that's my experience living in 3 different countries. So I guess this is it. Thank you for listening to my first ever podcast episode, and see you in the next one. Bye.